Welcome to Gigs and Guitars. Now, today is all about the Classic Rock Show gig at Liverpool at the M&S Arena, and it's only a short distance away, about an hour's drive. We'll be setting off about lunchtime today. As of tomorrow, Liverpool will remain a Tier 2 location, and the location I'm in will remain the same as well, which is obviously in Blackpool, but we can go to Liverpool. But the venue have put some really good measures in place to make sure that anybody visiting the Classic Rock Show gig, it's going to be as COVID secure as it possibly can be. Now, the M&S Arena, I've watched the video on my PC, and they've got some really good points. Several being is that, one, you've got to be wearing a face covering at all times. The only exemptions to that is when you're sitting down and having a meal or a drink. So if you are sitting down not having a meal or drink and you're watching the show, you have to be wearing a face covering. The other mandatory things you need to do is, if you're able to, assuming you've got a phone, is to download the NHS Track and Trace app. That is mandatory, but only assuming if you've got a phone which is up to date with the correct software and so on. So I can imagine one or two people might have to do a manual track and trace at the venue. Anyway, so moving on. The only other thing is that you can't take a bag into the venue, and the reason for this is very simple. It allows security staff to do less physical work with you on the way into the venue, which means they're not going to be searching bags because you simply haven't got one to be searched, which means there's less risk to them and less risk to you being the customer, the participant in the gig tonight. So anyway, so that's basically it. What I will be doing, I'll be sharing the journey, so we'll be setting off at lunchtime today. There'll be 3 of us, and when you book your ticket with a Classic Rock Show, it had, well, at the time of booking, it was very simple. You could only book one household, which is very simple, really. So the only people in my household at the minute is the people that live here, besides the dog and the chickens and the cat and everything else. So it's me, Michelle and James. We're going to go. We're going to stop off at 1 or 2 sort of places on the way and hopefully just have a really nice, safe time. Oh, and another thing about the gig tonight is a few things I've been wondering about over the past sort of month or two about this gig. Now, it's very simply a one gig event this. It's not at all that the Classic Rock Show normally do at the beginning of the year. And interestingly enough, the Classic Rock Show have the same management as Rumours of Fleetwood Mac and Brit Floyd as well. So Rumours of Fleetwood Mac is on at the same venue tomorrow night. And I've got tickets booked for Rumours of Fleetwood Mac, but that's later on next year. Anyway, so the point of coming on to, with it being a single gig, what is the lineup of the Classic Rock Show going to be? The questions I have is, would Pete Thorn travel all the way across the Atlantic Ocean to do one gig? I'm not really sure, to be fair. Now, we all remember that Pete Thorn played in the Classic Rock Show last year, who replaced Howie G. Now, Howie G went on to do his own thing with the Howie G Band when he released his own CD album, which was called Master of the Night. So, would we be seeing the return of said Howie G? And if we do, we know the fans would really want to see Howie G at the Classic Rock Show again. Equally as a brilliant guitarist as Pete Thorn is. I mean, if you went to the Classic Rock Show gig last year and you saw Pete Thorn doing a fantastic version of Eruption like he always does, he's obviously a big Van Halen fan. But equally, Howie G, brilliant. So I'm really hoping, for me personally, that if Pete Thorn can't make it, that Howie G will be there. But you just never know. If you watch the previous edition of Gigs and Guitars, you'll see that I did a live stream gig review from my home address, and to be honest, it was a good gig, but you didn't get the atmosphere, not only from the audience, but the feeling from the band, in terms of when you're at the gig, you get the full feeling of the movement of air when the drums are smashing away, and you've got the power of the guitars, which simply television can't produce. It's all about moving that air. And you simply didn't get that at the gig I was watching last week on my television in my home. But I'm kind of hoping tonight, with all these measures in place, it will be as good as an experience as it always has, but with these measures. So I'm going to report back and let you know exactly how I've got on with it. And join us for the ride, and we'll see you very soon. Okay, everybody, we're just on our way to Kirby. We're just on the, I don't know where we are, we're on the M58, and we're going to a guitar store called Austin's Guitars. Now, it's got a really nice guitar in there, which is a Gibson Firebird VII. So, all being well, we'll get there very soon, and we shall report back. Thank you very much. Hi guys.
Where are we now?
We've just arrived at Kirby and we're in McDonald's. We're just going to have a quick latte. We've worked out where Austin's Guitars is, and we're just going to have a quick bit of a drink, and we will crack on to Kirby Guitars. We've got to be there in the next 30 minutes or so. So brilliant. Everything's going to plan, and we'll see you very soon. Okay, so we've arrived at Kirby at Austin Guitars, and today I'm with Reg. He's got a cracking little store here. We're here because we're going to the Classic Rock Show later today. We thought we'd bob in to see Reg at Kirby today, and the reason why we're here at the minute is Reg has got a cracking Gibson Firebird VII, which caught my eye on Reverb about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and there's a nice little story to tell about this guitar, which is Reg is going to tell us all about today, aren't you, Reg? So take it away, Reg.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I said, one of the best things about this is the people you meet. You know, people similar to myself, but also the odd star pops in. Now, Paul Hemmings from Lightning Seeds, Lars fame, he comes here a lot. He's a guitar collector. In addition to being a great guitar player, obviously, he's into guitars. He's got the same bug as we have. And one of the guitars that I've taken, he's starting to thin his collection down a little bit. And one of the things I've taken off him recently is the Firebird. Absolutely stunning piece of kit. And it's, again, it's the kind of thing, you know, normally I would never have the chance to play and to have what I have now.
I mean, that is just a marvellous little story of a guitar that's come onto the market. And when you actually sort of read the advert, you don't understand that story until you actually speak to Reg himself, to be fair.
Well, yeah, I think there's behind every guitar. I mean, I'm a firm believer in we don't actually own. We're the custodians for guitars. We have them. Somebody else will have them after us. I had a 1930s Parlor Resonator which Paul brought in. I mean, just to hold a guitar like that in your hand, where's it been? It was somebody in 1930s went into a guitar shop in the States and bought that. If only you could read their life story. And Paul was very reluctant to let go of the Firebird, but he wasn't playing it anymore. He was playing other things, so I talked him into letting it go. We've been here just over 4 years now, and to be honest, it's a dream I never even had come true. We offer a full range of guitars, new and used, and a repair and maintenance service. Fate being what it is, this place became available. It's 2 minutes from where I live, and so against all the advice, I opened a guitar shop. At the time, I was told it was the worst possible time. Well, I'm in my 5th year now. It's absolutely fantastic. I offer a service to people on a one-to-one basis. I'm a guitar geek. I've got gear acquisition syndrome. I know what it's like being on the other side. But like I say, it's a dream come true. I have guitars from £50 up to £5,000. I get to have guitars in my hands that I would otherwise never have had the chance to do. But the best thing about it, actually, it sounds a bit corny, but the best thing is the people I meet. The people, like-minded people who are into guitars, have got the same problem, which is incurable. Once you've got it, you've got it. There's no end to it. And it's just, as I say, it's brilliant.
Everything's so far over there. Unbelievable, isn't it? Well, thanks ever so much, Reg. It's been really, really fantastic. The Firebird's a lovely, lovely guitar. It's got a fantastic tail to it, which makes it what it is. Every guitar, as far as I'm concerned, has got to have a little bit of a story behind it. And Reg, it's a cracking store, this. Every credit to yourself. It's brilliant. You know, this is in Kirby in Liverpool. Absolutely love it. And over to you, Reg. Anything you'd like to say?
No, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, like I said at the start, it's a dream I didn't even have come true. But no, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you all. It's always a pleasure to meet another guitar nut. Yeah. And you're always welcome back here.
Fantastic. And thanks ever so much, Reg. And that's Gigs and Guitars. Next stop is Liverpool Docks. Michelle James, currently walking through Liverpool. What are you looking forward to tonight?
Howie G. Howie, you think it could be Howie?
You think it could be Howie G tonight?
We're not sure.
Right, okay, well, fingers crossed. We don't know who it is if it's not going to be Howie G.
Anyway.
But I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic night. We wish the band all the very best. It's a one-off gig and they haven't got a tour at the minute, but hopefully they will have. And yeah, it's going to be a great night. Really good. Looking forward to it. And we will see you at the venue in the next few minutes. Hi guys, well we've made it into the venue now. We've got our face coverings on, we've done the track and trace, we've produced our tickets and we are going to be seated any minute now. Can't wait. See you in a moment. And it's massive in here. I'll do another shot in a sec, but you can just see the segregation areas in white, which are seats which aren't in use, but there we go. The other problem is my glasses keep steaming up. It's going to be a high watt stack at the back. I reckon it's going to be somebody from Brit Floyd, to be fair, because the white strap, sorry, the strap that's come on, it's got a maple neck with a white pick guard, it's got a black body. So I reckon it's somebody from Brit Floyd. Watch this space.
Got back from the classic rock show from Friday night, which was December the 18th, and what a great gig. As part of the Gigs and Guitars channel, I'm obviously, in my capacity, reviewing gigs, if you will. And part of my role at the minute is to attend venues as and when I can and do a gig review, such as in this case with the Classic Rock Show on Friday night. Now, today is Sunday, so I've had a bit of a day off yesterday, and you would probably sort of argue that the home of the Classic Rock Show and rumours of Fleetwood Mac and Brit Floyd are is essentially based in Liverpool. And the previous venues that they've naturally played at, like is at the Liverpool Royal Philharmonic, that venue is purposely designed to offer the best in acoustic experience, but it wouldn't have been able to accommodate the safety needs of the current COVID-19 climate that we're currently in. So people's hands were tied in terms of where can we put a gig on, where's it going to be COVID-19 compliant, and is it going to be safe for people to go there and watch the gig, the band. So for me, brilliant location given the circumstances, but I would prefer the Philharmonic under normal circumstances. But in this case, there was no other option for the Classic Rock Show than to play at the M&S Bank Arena in Liverpool. So when you look around the actual venue, it was obviously curtained off. There was lots of seating, which was quite obviously not in use to give people the social distance that they needed to remain safe while watching the band. And to be honest, very, very well done to the actual staff of the venue. They're really, really helpful, really very pleasant. And I did see one lady where I was, she's obviously a member of staff, who did proactively single out people who weren't wearing the masks. And that, to be honest, there's only one or two, and that was that everybody else was absolutely doing the right thing, as they should. And she quite rightly challenged those people, and they complied with their requests. So every credit to the staff at the venue, every credit to James Cole and the Classic Rock Show. You really pulled off a good gig, guys. And under the current circumstances, it was a really enjoyable night. I've not been to a personal gig in many, many months like everybody else, and it was refreshing. It was great. We had a great day out. It all started with us jumping into the car, driving over to Kirby in Liverpool to meet a fantastic chap called Reg, who's basically got a guitar store in a loft above a hairdresser's in Kirby. And it's brilliant, and it's fully loaded full of guitar gems. And what a great bloke. And that Gibson Firebird VII, whew, what a weapon that is. Really nice guitar. So moving on from Austin's guitar in Kirby, we then made our way over to Liverpool. Time was of the essence because it was obviously getting on quite late in the day. We needed something to eat. So we'd already pre-booked a table at a restaurant called Cote, which is a French restaurant. They've got a chain all over the country, really good value, really good food. We had a 2-course set meal, glass of wine, really nice surroundings. And then we did a quick mad dash panic over to the arena, through the rain, through the wind, and through the traffic on a Friday tea time, almost. So we essentially got to the venue for just after 6 p.m. to get our seats. So we're comfortably inside the venue without a last-minute panic in trying to get in. I was basically the bloke who was watching the gig, taking it all in, and I was also making notes at the time as well. So essentially the quick notes I did make was that the Classic Rock Show played 23 tracks, and what I will do is I will put all those tracks in the description below. So if you want to see exactly what the Classic Rock Show played on the night, it's in the description below and it will be there. Now there's just going through, say for example, the first set, the songs that really sort of stood out for me was for example tracks like Black Dog. You've got James Cole, he's got his Les Paul out, which I'll come on to in a minute too, so he's got his Gibson out. You've got Wayne Banks on the bass, and not only that, we've got a guest drummer in called Tim Brown. Brilliant, and you've got Jesse Smith doing the vocals. Great, excellent rendition of Led Zeppelin's Black Dog, loved it to bits. And yeah, really, really good. Now I'll just come on to James Cole, and he's going to keep coming up in this edition, to be fair, because not only is he one of the guitarists in Classic Rock Show, but he's also the musical director. So all that pressure is on James Cole to deliver. So he's got to play really good guitar solos, good rhythm guitar, but also manage the project as well, which, to be honest, is a difficult thing in these times. So moving quickly on, James Cole, through most of the night, actually played a Gibson Les Paul, which I thought was really interesting because James, from my previous visits to the Classic Rock Show, has always had an armoury of weapons at his disposal, to be honest, from Suhrs through to Fenders, Telecasters, Strats, Les Pauls, and other kinds of things. But to be honest, most of the night, he stuck with a Les Paul. And when you do stick to one guitar, particularly like a Les Paul guitar, sometimes you are restricted with the tone and the inflexibility. But I'll come on to that in a minute or two. So we're going to carry on with the set list. So the first set opened up with A Whole Lot of Love, and that concluded with Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. And I think people that were there were watching it, which it was a really good, steady set. Absolutely superb. The second set quickly started with Money for Nothing and progressed its way through to where it finished with Won't Get Filled Again by The Who, which, to be honest, it's a track that obviously the Classic Rock Show do like, and they like to do towards the end of a gig. Sometimes they'll throw in Firebird. Sorry, well, I've got Firebirds in my head. Freebird is generally one of the favourites that they will conclude a gig with. Okay, so just sort of moving on. I think personally, as a musician, sometimes simple is far better than trying to push the boundaries. So, for example, a comment that was made by, I think it might have been Jesse Smith or somebody during the course of the night, said they've had a really tough time, a stressful time, actually getting this gig to the venue and actually performing it, because the situation's been changing on almost a daily basis, whereby, was the gig going to be on, was it not going to be on, could they get musicians in? Pete Thorn was obviously the other side of the Atlantic with Rudy, they obviously weren't coming. And so it must have been an absolute headache to actually get it to the point of getting the gig on the stage and getting it running. So when you've got like the lineup, which I'll come on to shortly, you've got, say, for example, we've got the drums, we've got the keyboards, we've got James Cole on guitar, and we've also got, say, for example, Edo Scordo, who's a previous guitarist in the Classic Rock Show. He's obviously on the other side of the stage doing his bit. When you look at the gear that was being used at the time, so you've got Edo, who's playing his Strat, which was a black Strat white scratch plate. It was a bit too far away for me to really see what was going on in terms of his gear, which I would have liked to have seen more closely, to be fair. But you've got James on my left of the stage playing predominantly Les Paul. Now, for me, having played in bands for many, many years, on a local level on the Fylde Coast at Blackpool. Say, for example, in one of the previous editions of Gigs and Guitars, I did a jam session with Rob from Blackpool, well-established guitarist, and I know that he's a Fender man, so I turned up with a gold top Les Paul, basically to complement our tones rather than turning up with almost the same equipment. He plays Marshalls, I play Laney. On the night he played Fender, I played Gibson. It's a nice balance. And the Classic Rock Show did the same. So you've got the tonal variation of both guitars adding to the full picture of tones available. So you've not got the same thing going on, which I thought was really, really good. Edo stuck with his Strat during the course of the night, unless he was swapping to an acoustic for the acoustic tracks. And James Cole did essentially the same with his Les Paul until he needed to actually do a swap to something else, which is, to be honest, Comfortably Numb and one or two others were the only exceptions to him playing a Strat style guitar. James asked me a brilliant question, which I had two answers for at the time. He said, "Dad, why does James Cole play the solo in Comfortably Numb differently to you?" Well, there's two answers to that really. Is that in the previous edition of Gigs and Guitars, I did an artist review on David Gilbert, in particularly Comfortably Numb, because it's one of my favourite all-time tracks. I love Pink Floyd, as you all know. And my answer to that is simply this, is that David Gilmour, even though we recorded Comfortably Numb on the Wall, it was a recorded, obviously, solo, but when you hear him live, which is the tracks that I always go to and listen to, when that track came out, was played live all those years and years ago, over numerous decades, that track has evolved into what it is today. And you can hear, when you hear the recordings, that guitar solo has evolved in many different ways. And that is down to equipment being used, say for example, the late 1980s, where he's using his Fender Stratocaster American Vintage reissues, which are reissues of 57 Strats, but he's using a lot of technology at the time, which is when I first stepped into listening to Pink Floyd. So even though the track itself, when being played live, has evolved over decades, when I've come to play it, I've used the delicate sound of thunder version of Comfortably Numb as my inspiration for my guitar track, but I've intentionally put my personality into that guitar solo myself. And if you want to watch it, I'll put a link in the description below to my video where I've done the review on David Gilmour, but more importantly, I've put the full guitar version of me singing and playing Comfortably Numb myself for you guys to watch. So please have a look at that. Tell me what you think. Have a listen to the guitar solo at the end. You'll see influences from David Gilmour, but hopefully you'll see a bit of my personality coming through as well, which, to be honest, is what it's all about. And every credit to James Cole. His version of Comfortably Numb was just impeccable. It was brilliant, really, really good. Love the tone, love the way he played. He plays with feel. He's my kind of guitarist, is James Cole. And well done to you, James, if you're watching this, because I loved it, and you know that the fans did too. When I was sat there watching, I could see the band coming through from my left into the auditorium. I thought, oh, as a drummer there with some drumsticks with a Mohican haircut I've never seen before. And he was there, and he's obviously warming up in the background. Because see him, he's got his drumsticks and he's sort of rattling them around, just keeping his hands and his fingers and his limbs warm. And that was Tim Brown. Tim, you did a great job. Loved it. Yeah, superb. Never seen him before. From what I do understand, is a close friend of Wayne Banks. The original drummer could not make the date at all, so obviously Tim Brown's popped in. You've got Jesse Smith as well. We've got Alex D making an appearance again. Henry Bennett, Jess. We've already talked about Ed Scordo, and of course we've got James Cole and Wayne Banks. But superb! What a great night! It was always going to be a night full of compromises to do with the venue, the size of the venue to accommodate people safely. The acoustics for me are never all that fantastic in arenas, but it's the best we could expect, to be fair. I think given the circumstances, the Classic Rock Show played safe with the set they did. If you remember last year, James Cole stated in one of their rig rundowns they did last year, which has disappeared from YouTube since, but I think it's gone onto their Patreon side of things. And he did a rig rundown with Wayne Banks, Pete Thorn and himself, spoke all about the guitars and stuff. But he said he can't enjoy a gig until Hotel California's out of the way. And to be honest, it wasn't there on Friday night. And to be fair, I wouldn't have put it in. Keep the set simple. We've got different musicians that have come in basically just to get the gig presented and out to you guys being the audience. And I think they did a really, really good job. They just used Les Pauls, Fenders. It's a good recipe. It's a good balance of sound. The sound engineers did a brilliant job from where I was sat. And I absolutely loved it. So the question being now is, where do we go from here? As for people like Jess Harwood, check out her YouTube page a minute, because she's done a little bit of the behind the scenes of the Classic Rock Show when she was obviously doing the arriving at the venue, doing the sound check, doing the gig. She's got somebody else probably to take some footage which she's used. Check that out, it's really good. There's some really good stuff online on the Facebook page for the love of the Classic Rock Show. Check that out, because there are loads of fan videos on there as well. And I think you'll agree it was a really good, successful night, which I really enjoyed. And I'll be going to many, many more in the future. So if you are James Cole or anybody from the band watching this, well done, thank you very much. If there is possibly an opportunity in the future for me to meet the band and actually do some interviews and do some backstage work with gigs and guitars, please get in touch. It's something we can look at in the future, and I'm sure the fans would love to see that too. But one thing I want to do this next 12 months is actually look at purchasing a guitar, to be fair. And so I want to increase my guitar collection. And one of the reasons why we went to visit Reg at his guitar loft in Kirby and Liverpool was to check out his Gibson Firebird VII, which is a 2006. And I have to say, what a stunning guitar that was. I actually couldn't play it, to be fair. And and if you listen to Scott Holliday, who's a big Firebird man, he will say it's a guitar you've got to fight with. And what I will do, I'll just got my lead over now. I'll just quickly demonstrate what he means. Let me just quickly grab this. Here we go, guys. So if I just got a Fender Strat, and I'm just holding this up to the camera here, so that's in my normal, let me just get my chair out of the way. So this is my normal guitar position. So a Firebird is playing the guitar which is over here. And I found it a little bit bizarre. So it's not there in a natural, comfortable position. You've really got to get dialed into muscle memory and the ergonomics of a guitar, which is designed by a car designer. And that's basically what it's all about, really. So having sat down and played this guitar with Reg, just get myself untangled. Here we go. Let's get this back over here. So right, I'm back with you now. So having loosely played this Firebird, and I have to say, it's an absolute stunner. So it's got a little bit of kudos to it too. So would that particular guitar be a guitar for me? So we'll have to wait and see. So guys, check in on a regular basis and see through the next few months or so my journey on purchasing a new guitar. Wherever in the country, if a guitar catches my eye on Reverb or through all these web pages I regularly check out, we're going to check them out, because I want to buy a really special guitar for this next 12 months, which is all about a new chapter in my life. So please enjoy the channel, make sure you subscribe, tell your mates, hit that bell icon, and we'll see you soon. And there's always time in the day for a brew. Cracking.